to start off with the discovery of cocaine in the White House. It has rocked the Biden administration. The incident has not only prompted an in-depth probe, but also subjected the White House to a barrage of questions as to how the drug made its way into the highly guarded complex and what is planning to be done next. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre had to face a flood of questions after it was announced that the powder found in the West Wing tested as cocaine. Jean-Pierre said that the matter is being investigated by the Secret Service. She expressed confidence that the agency will get to the core of the issue. Upon being asked about if the White House is considering to put all its staff under a drug test, she said all such measures are under consideration.
Where this was discovered is a heavily traveled area where many White House, West Wing, I should be even more specific, West Wing visitors come through this particular area. I just don't have anything more to share. It is under investigation by the Secret Service. This is in their purview, and so we're going to allow certainly the investigation to continue, and we have confidence that the Secret Service will get to the bottom of this.
The press secretary also said that President Joe Biden, too, insists that it is important to dig deep into the issue. But analysts believe that the task may prove to be Herculean. This is because cocaine was found in a cubbyhole in the entry area of the West Wing. Visitors are allowed to take a tour of some parts of the complex and are required to deposit their electronic devices and other belongings at the entrance. Moreover, the White House has certified that the Bidens were out of town for the holiday weekend when the cocaine was found. The incident has renewed the debate on America's drug problem and crisis. A potent synthetic opioid drug, fentanyl, is becoming a menace to the country, an epidemic, if you may. The daughter of Oscar-winning actor Robert De Niro says that her son was sold fentanyl-laced pills before he died. Fentanyl is approximately 100 times more potent than morphine and 50 times more potent than heroin. The United States has been pointing to China's role in the opioid crisis since the precursors do come from China. In recent years, the drug has fueled a surge in U.S. opioid overdose deaths, widely used in hospitals during anesthesia and for pain relief. Fentanyl has become a major black market narcotic in the United States. Overdose may result in changes in pupil size, cold and clammy skin, the presence of a slew of symptoms such as coma, pinpoint pupils, and respiratory depression are strongly suggestive of opioid poisoning. The U.S. Drug Agency chief has called on China and Mexico to help stem the fentanyl crisis. The U.S. blames China for poor domestic enforcement of its regulations, inadequate action against the Chinese drug smugglers, and money laundering as well. Washington has been citing Beijing's insufficient regulatory oversight of its non-scheduled chemicals. China has rubbished allegations of illegal fentanyl trafficking.
Firstly, there is no such thing as illegal trafficking of phenyl between China and Mexico. The channels for bilateral anti-drug cooperation between the two countries are open, and the authorities of both sides maintain good communication.
For more on this, we are being joined by Robert G. Cantor from New York. Cantor is a commentator on a fentanyl epidemic. Robert, great to have you on WION, and thank you so much for joining us. The United States has continuously asked China and Mexico to help with this problem. One, because it's being so heavily smuggled from Mexico into the United States by these cartels and the border issue that we have in this country, but also because China provides the precursors to this deadly drug, fentanyl. Can you talk about that and why these countries aren't cooperating at this point?
First of all, it's an honor and privilege to have me. Thank you. Greetings from New York City. There are a lot of moving parts here which are feeding into the opioid and fentanyl epidemic. You just talked about China and the transnational chemical brokers, the criminal organizations that do sell the norfentanyl and ABOD and a bunch of the other precursor chemicals to the Mexican cartels. That is a fact. Why the United States can't do anything about that as it relates to relations with China? Obviously, as a media commentator, that would be information I wouldn't be privy to. I don't think anyone in this country really knows why that dynamic exists. And then to go back, those chemicals are then sold to mainly the Sinaloa cartel. There are 16 drug cartels in Mexico, in the country of Mexico. The two largest are the Jalisco New Generation and the Sinaloa. And those chemicals are then, those synthetic chemicals are then sold to them. And they then process through pill press machines and other methods, putting the fentanyl into the fake oxycodones and Percocet, also putting it into cocaine, heroin. And then most of that is smuggled through illegal entry points. And I would offer to you, as I just did an interview on WABC radio here yesterday, that there are some other things I don't think we all know about that don't make sense relating to this prolific epidemic, because the overdose deaths numbers keep going up. And as the strongest military in the world, you would wonder why that would be. And that's why I have my opinions on that. So it's a very, very dire situation in this country. And a lot of our citizens really are just being poisoned by the fentanyl.
Yeah, a really dire situation. We have citizens, and then we have the youth that are being exposed to fentanyl, even through a simple thing like cell phone apps or social media apps. Right now, for example, a teenager can maybe think that they're ordering Adderall, but they can, and the word order is terrifying in itself, but then they end up with fentanyl in their hand just because these cartels have really come into Americans' homes at this point through cell phones and other means with the youth. Can you talk about the youth epidemic and what to do, really?
Well, first of all, I just want to, and that's a great point, I want to interject that, if I may, that there are what we call opiate naive users. There are individuals that legitimately in this country suffer, let's say, from severe chronic back pain. And in the days where there was overprescribing, Purdue Pharma and the McKesson, Kerosene distributors, there was as much oxycodone and Percocet and Vicodin that you wanted, you could get. Now, with the underprescribing, you have situations where many, many people who are not addicted to these substances need to go on what we call the superhighway, the internet, the dark web, because to get these medications, because the doctors won't prescribe them. That's really what is happening. We've done a complete reversal in this country. So these individuals are what we call opiate naive. They don't know what they're buying on the internet. They think they're getting an Oxycontin pill for their back. It is laced with a small amount of fentanyl, and we call it one and done. Unfortunately, there are laws, I believe it's Section 230, I don't have it in front of me, that shields, federal law that shields the social media companies from having to release certain information regarding their platforms and communications on their platforms. This has been a real sticking point. There have been congressional hearings on this matter, and they also feel that they have their rights as well to protect their users. It's just one of the many complicated moving parts in this fentanyl epidemic. And unfortunately, a 12-year-old, a 13-year-old can go on. These transactions are coded as emojis. They know how to buy them. They get the money. Sometimes it's delivered. Sometimes it's through parcel. And as we say, they're dropping like flies.
Yeah, what an epidemic. And no wonder some lawmakers want to call fentanyl a weapon of mass destruction here in the United States. And a great point pointing to the fact that the opioid crisis has been going on for some time with Percocets, Vicodin, and other drugs as well. Robert, it's a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for joining us, and I look forward to speaking to you again very soon.
Honor and privilege. Thank you so much.